Yeah, the holiday was Saturday for south of the border.
I wondered, so when that happened south of the border, do they have a standard between roll back versus roll forward, or is it at company discretion? Does anyone know?
I don't know. I would make a wild guess they'd probably go for the Friday because most of them would rather have a Friday off, you know what I mean?
I get that, yeah. And I think I'm trying to think of precedent on our side of the border. I feel like on our side of the border they tend to roll forward, do they not?
I guess it depends on the company's. It's at the company's discretion. A lot of times they'll ask us as employees what they want.
Yeah. From what I
did you
vaguely remember way back when I actually had those kind of choices.
What did you do for Canada Day at your place, Jason?
Well, we had the kids over, and we kind of just went to a big open field near the house and played catch with frisbees, or we had those like tennis balls with the paddles and just kind of Velcro to it. You know what I'm talking about?
I actually more so meant which day was your holiday?
Oh, I took an extended vacation because we had a deadline pretty close to Canada Day. So once I got all my work done, I was like, or I looked at it and said, I'm going to take a whole bunch of time off because I will have, pushed myself to hit the deadline and feel better afterwards. So yeah, that's what I did with my. So I from Wednesday till today was my first day back at work.
Yeah, honestly, same with me. But I didn't. It wasn't autonomy that made that choice. That was just a choice made by the organization. We're down to working 4 days a week now, anyway. And so Fridays are off. They gave us Wednesday for the holiday, so they said, "I'll just take Thursday as well." That was nice, though.
Yeah, they tend not to be too fighty about the days off. I actually happen to have Wednesday off still because our original plan to go to Rochester is once again just not going to happen.
Right.
But it's also my wedding anniversary, so me and Amber
would that have been this week or this coming week?
That would have been this Wednesday.
Whoa.
Until they pushed
past.
But they also pushed it back again to November, and that's when you and me decided we were just going to get the refund.
Hey, gotta pay for that somehow.
Yeah. That's also when I realized how much we paid for those tickets.
Yeah, they were not cheap.
No.
That was a nice little windfall. Again, headphones.
Yeah. All right. That said, I'm joined this week by Tom.
Hello, everyone.
And Mike.
Hey!
And yeah, we're live. We have been for a little bit, as we do. We just kind of stumble across this show and see what's up. I kind of like just casually going in with a conversation that has nothing to do with Heroclix before we just start talking about Heroclix, which I have been playing, oddly enough.
Wow.
We have a couple games coming up for the channel. I would have had the Patron game edited by today, but the past 2 days I've been kind of out with a sore back. It's really hard to focus on my work, so I got about an hour and a half left of work to do on the Patron game, and then we have another game filmed ready to go in the can. So we got a lot of filmed content coming for the channel. And I got to play at my local store, and I'm really getting used to having a face covering while I play. And, just kind of dealing with... there's just no more shortcomings on it. I'm over the hearing issue. I'm listening better, I think. It's helping me focus a little bit more, too. And I think the big thing is it's nice to be back to the game. Because don't get me wrong, I appreciate the existence of Roll20, but I love the game in my hand. Let me tell you.
Oh, I'm so jealous, dude. I want to be divorced, even though I'm not married yet, so I can go find somebody who plays Heroclix. I'm just kidding, honey. I love you. Please
common law counts.
Don't get me.
Common law counts. Just you try to play.
It's too bad. It's too bad the kid grew out of being interested in it, and my loving partner has never been into it. I'm jealous when I see your videos. I'm like, oh, Jason, you picked the right one. Don't ever let her go.
I mean,
because I'm really missing that part. I'm really missing. Like getting to play that game with Tom on the Roll20 was fun because it reminded me, like, I like interacting with you guys and strategizing things and talking it out and laughing at those weird moments where we do stupid things. And by we, I mean me.
It's we.
Yeah. That's another thing in my editing pool right now.
Oh yeah. Our game is going to be a lot of editing. I'm
trying to find a sound bite for that beep. Beep. Tom, how you doing? Go ahead,
good.
Mike.
No, it's okay. I was just saying the same thing. Yeah, I'm missing the tactile. I'm missing the. I walk past the shelf in the garage and they look so beautiful, and I.
What about you, Tom?
I feel the same way. I mean, I don't I don't wear it on my sleeve as much. I do miss it, and I look forward to getting back to it when we can. But I like the fact that this show keeps a foot in the ground, and there's always lots of new, exciting stuff coming out for us to talk about and us to think about what we're going to do when we finally do get a chance to go back to it. So it's nice to have that in, if nothing else. But I really am starting to feel that itch a little bit. I was home last week with my family, and I was playing board games with my brother, and that was neat. And it was a reminder of the fact that that's a thing that you do sometimes. And hopefully we can do it again.
All right. Well, with that said, who wants to talk about some previews?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. So first things first, and Aaron himself from the two Clicks from KO has entered the chat.
Wow.
Our first preview comes courtesy of the 2 Clicks from KO blog spot. Check that, or WordPress. Yeah, WordPress. Sorry. Check out their website. Just look. Even if you Google 2 Clicks from KO, it's one of the first things that shows up. I'm gonna put the link in the description actually a little later for both articles. One's from 3 previews from 2 Clicks from KO, 3 previews from comicbook.com, and then we're going to go for 2 other ones that were on the WizKids live stream that were kind of interesting to myself and Tom as we were digging through the evidence thread. So
I can't find them still.
Page
still
103 and 113.
Okay, thank you. That's right.
101.
101, sorry, and 113.
All right. Yeah.
That said, here is the first preview. It's the Punisher, not that Punisher.
No, it's not the Punisher. It's Punisher.
The Punisher. It's Punisher. It's this is the Prime Uncommon. He's got the Frightful 4, Cosmic, Herald, and Robot keywords. He's got the Frightful 4 trait, Strange, Heavily Armored Being, half robot, half alive. Friendly characters with the Frightful 4 keyword deal penetrating damage to opposing characters with 2 action tokens. And then his second trait, Merciless, Hardcore, Mass of Mayhem, Close Combat Expert, Colossal Stamina, Giant Reach 2. He's got a special movement power, which he has on his first click of his 125-point dial and his last 2 clicks of all his dials, which gives him Charge and Flurry, and it's called He's Unstoppable. Like I said, he's 125 or 75 points. He flies. He's got the Power Cosmic team ability. Tom, what do you think of the Prime Punisher?
I kind of think that they were taking a page out of the old. If you remember Gore the God Butcher,
yeah.
the running joke with him is that all his powers sounded like they were the name of Iron Maiden songs. And it kind of feels like they're doing the same thing here with Punisher, which is great. I think that's very funny. I think that this is really good economy for the points. We were making a lot of fun of the Frightful 4 last week. I mean, particularly Claw, but. Well, I was making fun of Wizard, but only because I thought he was too good. And Punisher keeps that thread going. I think you get an awful lot of clicks of life for the points in both cases. Like I guess 6 clicks for 75 points isn't, I guess, mind blowing, but 6 clicks of heavy reduction for 75 points is pretty great. And you're the fact that he's not a giant, I'm happy that they resisted the urge to make him one. They did give him colossal stamina and gave him giant reach, but they didn't actually make him a giant. And so he's not necessarily the giant target that some others are. He is still outwittable. The fact that he deals penetrating damage
with Power Cosmic.
Oh wait, he just
he is Power Cosmic.
Yeah. Sorry, my head is somewhere else. So then so much the better. And I guess that further goes to my point, which is 6 clicks for 75 points and 9 clicks for 125 points when the reduction does have that protection on it is really worth it. I mean, yes, at his lower point value, penetrating damage can carve through him, but that is still more specific than just being able to outwit him. And he's definitely one where there's benefits to both starting lines. I love the penetrating damage to characters with 2 action tokens, and I love the fact that Close Combat Expert is always there, so that when you are tied down with him, that he can get some serious damage out. But that's not coming at the expense of movement. On his top line, Charge Flurry is less movement for outstanding output, and Hypersonic with 11-3 is more of a sort of a beefed up harasser, if you want, off the top there. And with the Giant Reach 2, then his hypersonic speed isn't getting shut down by plasticity, unless it's some sort of ranged plasticity thing. And Colossal Stamina is, of course, always helpful, especially when it's balanced against the Steel Energy at the end of his dial. I always like to see that particular combination. So it's just the right amount of everything and points. I feel like this is a character whose justification in the Prime slot comes just from the fact that if he wasn't in the Prime slot, I'll bet that he would be one click shorter at 75 and 2 clicks shorter at 125 or something, right? Like I think that's what I think you're paying for in the prime slot here is just efficiency for points, and for that I think that he's quite decent.
All right, anything you want to add, Mike?
Yeah, just a couple of really quick things. One, I think Tom, to add on to that, yeah, I think literally the prime circle has been put on this figure because of the way the dials were laid out with those point values. Because definitely you would be able to really exploit that 75-point line if you could play more than one of him, especially with both Cosmic and Robot as keywords. I mean, Robot, this is a great filler piece to fit a nice niche spot in the Robot keyword. Having another sort of a secondary attacker or mid-range attacker to go in with that keyword is really good. Giving something for people to want to take a shot at, for Tri-Sentinels to then retaliate on. So I think there's a lot going on for this figure, and I think the 75-point line is something you actually really want to look at because it's so economical for everything you get. You're starting with the move and attack power, which is pretty solid and can't be outwitted. And not to say the 125-point line, again, doesn't give you a lot of stuff with the Invincible also not being able to be outwitted, and that way penetrating can't get through. But there's something about that hypersonic. I feel like this figure just can kind of do a little bit more in that respect, and you're saving the 50 points. So really cool use of the Prime slot. And it's interesting, if I look at this figure and I look at the Prime Ghost Rider, I see again how they really put that Prime symbol on that Ghost Rider to prevent you playing the lower point version multiple. So it seems like maybe that's what we're going to get in this set is 4 Primes that all have a lower point value that we wish we could play more than one of.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of a cool design philosophy if they are taking that, like, hey, we're going to put the prime slot on things that need to be primes.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, to prevent a watch list later on.
Yeah, exactly. All right, next up, we have the Ghost Rider. This one comes with the Codex, Fantastic Four, Monster, and Mystical keywords. This is the non-prime super rare. Temporarily sent back by Johnny Blaze, King of Hell. This is her trait. When I say it so nonchalantly. I really got to get a little bit more dramatic with this stuff. When Ghost Rider would be KO'd for the first time, instead turn her to any click number from 1 to 5. The next time she takes damage from an opponent's attack, KO her. This is protected pulse wave. She's got a special defense power, the Guardian Phantasma, which gives her defend, energy shield deflection, toughness, and willpower. Adjacent friendly characters of equal or lower points or that share a keyword with Ghost Rider can use energy shield deflection. She's 50 points. She got the special defense power in the first 2 clicks with a 4 range. Mike, what do you think of the super rare non-prime Ghost Rider?
Well, I just got to say, big deal on the defense power because Claw gives energy shield deflection to everybody on the team.
Right.
Not just people next to him.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Well, they need to share the keyword.
You got to have that Frightful 4.
Still. Anyway. You know what? It's not a bad figure. I mean, I can't even bother to look at this figure when I know that the 40-point line of the Prime is out there. Like, let's be honest. It's, 10 points cheaper for so much more I can do with that. But it's not a bad representation. The flip side is it is a 50-point figure that doesn't die the first time. So that's, hey, who doesn't mind that? I don't mind that. It's kind of a bit of a wild dial there with what you're going to get when it comes back. But hey, a 50-point figure that doesn't die the first time. Monster and Mystical are good, solid, generic keywords that are on the go right now. So at 50 points, you can fit it in. Maybe somebody somewhere might find a way to make this something to fill a spot, but I don't think it's going to make any kind of top 10 meta list, that's for sure.
All right.
Not even a top 20.
Tom?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing about this piece is the defend and handing out energy shield deflection combination, right? I think that's if there's any reason that you want to build with this piece specifically, it's probably that. And so if you're putting together your team of any one of these keywords, Even more so, why do we have to talk about this every single time? But it's true. Fantastic Four sideline, rebuild the Fantastic Four. If you see something across the way and you really think that it's a ranged heavy opponent, maybe it's benefit, and that's not energy shield or energy exploding you, then maybe it's worthwhile to go for the defend and handing out ESD combination. It's such a nice combination of powers, because other than that, it's kind of just a dial, and I love the die and come back, and so there's lots of variety on the different clicks you can come back onto, which really gives some interesting options. So it's kind of the best version of that, but the consequence of that is that you never really know where you're going to land and what it's going to be good for. It's weird that it's got one ranged focus click in the middle of the whole thing, and it's on click 2. So if you get punked out by some poison, or if you're caught in an energy explosion, your toughness will soak one of the damage, and you'll end up on a completely different type of click that really changes your functionality. And with only a range of 4, I don't know how much you really want to be there. So I kind of wish that click was buried at the end or something. And you kind of wish there was regeneration rather than steal energy, because on the unlikely event that you happen to hit a thing where you steal energy, you're stealing back to a fine click, but not a spectacular one. I mean, giving up the flurry is a hard sell, even if exploit's nice. So, there's just not enough about it that makes me want to be excited. I keep saying, like, I like this, but this, and I like this, but this, and thus there's kind of nothing about it that makes me really want to get it. I kind of just want to have it on my sideline in case I really need defend and hand out ESD.
I do have to say, though, that Mystical as a theme team has in the past benefited from characters like this that give the team energy shield. So I'm not going to completely discount it as a possible as well as for the 40.1. As well, I don't mind the idea of a character who's doing this with 5 clicks and then a stop click, effectively, because you go back to any one of the clicks that you feel like, and that could be a little bit flexible in the fact, like, on the straight out dial layup, I kind of agree with what you're saying, Tom. But then I look at that second click and I say, that's my 6th click.
I agree completely.
So,
that's what I think it's there for. I just wish it was buried elsewhere in the dial.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would also point out that, and I know this is a minor quibble, but I always have a bit of an issue when they just stack powers like pancakes onto one special power. Like that one outwit loses defend, ESD, toughness, willpower, and ESD for everyone else.
Shield, yeah.
So like everything is gone with one outwit. That is a big loss for one outwit.
Yeah, that is a little bit rough. So that was the best ringtone. But overall, it's not like this is the worst thing ever. It's just cool.
Neat. Also looks great.
Yeah. And again, got to go back to it. This is the non-prime, and then the prime with the bike. That's I love it.
Yeah, good choice.
Hot.
All right, next up, the Chase Maker. We have Cabal, Revengers, and Scientist keywords. He's got 2 traits. The first one, Ultimate Elastic Body, which gives him plasticity, super senses, and giant reach 4. When Maker attacks, characters he targets modify defense -1 for each team ability they can use. Before we move on to the next thing, he ignores hindering terrain for movement and line of fire. His next trait, I've been making some new tools. Outwit and Perplex. When Maker hits after resolutions, generate a token that is a copy of an equipment object that's equipped to a hit opposing character. That object has max 1 for each object name and isn't scored. So if there's multiple objects across multiple characters and you hit different characters, you're going to get a max 1 on each one. Special damage power, Splitting Myself Apart. Shape change. Power, generate a Maker 2 bystander. The Maker 2 bystander has 8 movement with plasticity, 11 attack with psychic blast with a 6 range, 18 defense with indomitable and super senses, and a special damage power, Imperfect Clone. Maker can use his Outwit, Perplex, and Probability Control as if he occupied this square. So kind of a light Phantom Xing. He comes in at 100 points. He's indomitable with a 6 range himself. This is a really cool character, and I think has a lot of potential in a Scientist keyword. There's a lot going on that's just not on the dial, but rather on the traits. Like Plasticity, Super Senses, and Giant Reach 4. That's pretty huge. If you can find a way to give this guy charge somehow, that's a pretty scary outlook. and the fact that the number of team abilities are starting to stack on some characters that that negative defense will kind of have a place. I think the Maker he's one of those characters that's kind of unassuming to look at, but will have a lot of potential beyond that. Like using the imperfect clone, the bystander, as his sight point. We've seen success with things like that with Phantom X. Now, granted, Phantom X was making range attacks from it, but still using Outwit and Perplex and probability control, which he has later in the dial, through the Maker 2 gives him a lot of range of motion on that. So there is a team that will be able to make functional use of Maker. I think there is a competitive team that can use him. So I'm gonna say, he's really neat, really cool, and it's just I don't know what that team is yet, and it's not a team I'm going to build. If that kind of makes it like there's a lot of really good stuff going on with this figure, and I got no problems with anything I see. Super Senses in combination with Mastermind is great. Okay, I didn't dodge it. You take it now, and he can Mastermind it to the token. Take it. I don't care. I lost 0 points. I'll take a power action later on. I'm indomitable. So like there's so much flexibility in this character that it's kind of hard to take apart just in a short span. So I'm going to stop trying to take it apart and let Tom go next.
No, I think you sum it up well. And like, I don't know. I don't feel like there's a lot to say, because I think a lot of what I have to say is either already been said or is maybe self-evident. I mean, shape change plus super senses plus mastermind plus the ability to take a power action to create your own mastermind fodder is awfully good protection. As if it wasn't enough that he's also got Outwit to help shut down what your opponent is doing, and Perplex. And if he does happen to take some damage, he gets the holy trinity of Outwit, Perplex, and Prob for 4 of his 6 clicks. These are all things that are kind of maybe a little bit self-evident, but still worth remembering. I love the Giant Reach 4. There's a lot to like. I just don't have a lot to add. I think that he does a lot of really good stuff, but what you see is kind of what he do.
Yeah. Mike?
Yeah, I think you guys really, really covered it very well. When you first look at him, it's like that 100 points almost scares you away, because he doesn't seem so much like a one-man army kind of figure, and he's a third-year build. But I think it's that he's a nuanced, playable figure. With the right combination of support staff, this figure can be really, really good, and can really exploit those combination of defensive powers to make him difficult to take those 100 points, right? Like you can fill him up with a bunch of scientists around him for things like perplexes to boost stats. And again, he's got this clone. It can be making attacks too. The clone is indomitable. It could be pushing itself. He can immediately boost one of the stats on the clone, because the perplex can be used through the imperfect clone wherever it is. There's a lot there, and I'm really happy to see the Maker in this set. I like the figure a lot. I've been waiting to have a Maker for a long time, and I think they've done a really good job of encapsulating the figure without getting a little too crazy.
And in lieu of not being a design figure, this is a chosen figure from a national champion, specifically Aurelio D'Amico, the 2016 D'Amico. The 2016 Italian Heroclix national champion. I kind of wanted to do that with the CU, so I'm going to move on. To the Silver Surfer. Silver Surfer has Annihilators, Codex, Defenders, Fantastic Four, Cosmic, and Herald. Before I go on, Aaron did want to point out from the Punisher preview that he combos really well with the Sandman or Hydra Man traits, because all those defense powers minus defense as well, or minus damage coming at them. I totally missed that.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
And again, like, if you haven't looked it up, then like it's worth looking at the card again just to see all the flavor text on the powers on them, because they're all funny. It is a lot like Gore the God Butcher. Gore the God Butcher kind of seemed more like his like a symphonic metal album for all of his titles, whereas this is more like a death metal album.
Yeah.
But it's very metal.
Yeah.
Is he more Ingwe J. Momstein? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. A little more Rhapsody of Fire for Gore the God Butcher, and a little more an Amon Arath or whatever.
All right, before we get too far off topic, Silver Surfer, Annihilators, Codex, Defenders, Fantastic Four, Cosmic, and Herald keywords. We're starting to step into the comicbook.com previews now. His special movement power, anywhere and everywhere. Hypersonic speed. When Silver Surfer uses it, after resolutions, you may choose a character he hit or moved through. The chosen character gains immobile until your next turn. He's got a special attack power. I only attack to defend. Free, choose a standard attack power an opposing character within 8 squares can use. Silver Surfer can use that power until your next turn. And then he's got this trait, Dawn Greenwood, Ordinary Girl from Earth. At the beginning of the game, generate a Dawn Greenwood bystander. The Dawn Greenwood bystander is a 0-point bystander with sidestep and 2 special attack, special damage power, and a trait. The trait, I have to leave you now. When Dawn Greenwood is KO'd by an opponent's attack, modify Silver Surfer's combat values by +1 for the rest of the game. Her special attack power, I might have gotten in over my head. Power, if Dawn Greenwood is within 4 squares of an opposing character, place Silver Surfer adjacent from elsewhere on the map. And then her special damage power, I don't know how I feel about you, Norin. Enhancement and Perplex, but only to target a character named Silver Surfer. Silver Surfer comes in at either 150 or 75 points with an 8 range, flies, and is power cosmic. Tom, the Silver Man on the Silver Surfboard.
Really cool that they decided to do this version of Silver Surfer. I must admit, I didn't like this comic very much, but I thought it was neat when he hooked up with Dawn and had their little adventures in the cartoony writing of that thing. It lost me, but I was into it off the top, and it's cool to see it in Heroclix, so that's neat. Once again, I feel like I must point out 9 clicks of life with Power Cosmic starting Invincible for 150 points is pretty good. It's not defended by other than anything more than heavy reducers, but still, it's decent. Punisher does have him a little bit edged out at 75 with starting Impervious rather than Vulnerable, as well as one more click of life. But Punisher is not quite as mobile, and he doesn't create his own pog that makes him super awesome. I mean, I think that let's not bury the lead here. Dawn Greenwood's ability to pull the Silver Surfer over is an awesome power. And it's a great little catch-22 for your opponent, since you know it's coming, so what are you going to do? Do you KO Dawn now and give Silver Surfer +1 for the rest of the game? Or do you let Dawn live and let their character choose whether they want to push to KO her themselves, if they've got a token on, to bring the Silver Surfer over, or just bring the Silver Surfer over? What is it going to be? Are you going to face a Silver Surfer popping across the map at you, or are you going to face an amped up Surfer? I love putting that choice to my opponent, and having them have to live with the consequence of it. And so I think for that reason, it's quite neat. Mm-hmm. I will say that what more do you want? But I still don't think at 150 I can quite justify it. 50% of the build is a lot, and his ability to choose attack powers is based on being closer to my opponent than I want to be if I'm starting with Hypersonic with that kind of movement and range. So he's not really getting it off the top. He is getting the Hypersonic. I love the fact that he can move through people, so he can't be retaliated against. It is only, of course, one person he went through, so you got to be a little careful about how you use it. But the whole immobile against people he flew through is neat, although I wouldn't quite say it's better than Captain Marvel. It's funny because you compare, it's a lot of things you can compare to Captain Marvel, and Captain Marvel has a bunch of stop clicks. Silver Surfer does not. Silver Surfer makes a great pog that can really crank him up, but he can't carry her when he's using Hypersonic, so you've got to be careful about your placement. This guy has Hypersonic for every single click of his entire dial, which means he can never carry Dawn Greenwood around when he's trying to do his thing. So he's got a lot of good, but it's not enough to for me to give it an A. I think this is a B+ figure, and I think it's cool for that reason. But that's all.
Before I pass to Mike, just for a quick clarity, Rory Zog wanted to know if the enhancement was just for the Silver Surfer. It is not just for the Silver Surfer. It is enhancement, period, perplex, comma, but only to target a character named Silver Surfer. So your whole team can get the enhancement from Dawn Greenwood. Mike?
Yeah. I I want to play him at 150. It's so hard to put into words. I want to do it, but really you kind of cover it when you point out the Captain Marvel stop clicks.
Yeah.
Like that's what I look at this figure and I'm like, oh, I love those values. 12 and 12 is pretty huge. The probability controls, I'm feeling confident, but this figure will fall surprisingly fast at 150. Even with Invincible, even with Power Cosmic, this figure is gonna fall too easily, and there's no way to stop it. And I don't like the 75-point click because it's invulnerable. Like it's just not enough. So it's like there's so much cool here, and the right person could make this figure work well, and the right combo. In a world where Unseen is not retired, I would play this Silver Surfer at 150 points, because then I would put the Beetle Pod on Unseen, and Unseen would carry around Dawn Greenwood and use her as the most wonderful way of either porting over Silver Surfer or juicy bait. And I would still have about 70 points, I think, to build with, 65 points to build with, something like that. In that kind of a world, I would be like, yes, I would give it a chance. But he feels like bait to me. Like it's so good. And if you get the attack off early, like you win initiative and you get the right, like you could totally clean up with this guy, right? He gets the right hit, he runs through somebody else and immobilizes and pretty much takes out the two main threats on your team in one turn. You could be really effective with him, but I'm so used to playing this game and having misses and having my guys get attacked. And I've always seen teams where figures are soft and you're relying on getting attacks, those teams crumble. If you've got if I miss, I can still survive, those are the teams that live. You got to kind of always, you got to take into account bad dice at some point in time. And this is a figure that will get punished for bad dice so hard. You know what I mean? So really cool Silver Surfer. I want to play him. I really want to play him. And that Dawn Greenwood trait, like Tom said, it's the perfect bait. Like, do I kill it to prevent you being able to pour it over and then give you +1 to all your stats? Well, I would love a 13-13 5 damage Silver Surfer hypersonicking around. That's great. But it just feels like it's just the downside is too much of a downside.
I'm going to personally nominate Dawn Greenwood for most poisoned and knocked back Pog ever, because you do have to attack her to give the Silver Surfer the +1 combat values. So
yeah, it does say by an opponent's attack.
Yeah, it does. It does when it's KO'd by an opponent's attack. Yeah.
So that immediately, there you go. Everybody's just going to do that every time. Is do some what? Is it spin ring that's knockback? I can never remember. Influence ring.
I think it's. Oh, jeez.
Well, it's not spin. The knockback
one.
Oh, I can't
remember. Not it. Anyway,
influence now that you mention it.
One of the rings. I think
you might be right. Yeah.
Or a poison, or it'll be
the one
too
time
easy to
you
get
Thanks, one thing we not be lazy and look at that, but laziness is easy.
All right, next up, we hit the super rare slot with Blastar. Frightful 4, negative zone, Cosmic Ruler, and Warrior keywords. He can shoot out of base. He's got the double circle arrow through it for line of fire. His trait, the Forceful Ruler of Balor. Force Blast and Super Strength. His special movement power, Concussive Blast Fight. Concussive Blast Fight? I think it's supposed to be flight. Because, it says fight. I'm looking at it right now. It says Concussive Blast Fight.
I think that's what it's supposed to be.
All right.
I think it's maybe Concussive Blast Fight.
Concussive Blast Fight. It's kind of more anime like. Concussive Blast Fight! Charge, running shot, free, make a close attack.
It's kind of like speed metal. Which subgenre of metal is yours?
Well, look at his other power, the Living Bomb Burst.
Yeah, the Living Bomb Burst is a special attack power. Energy Explosion, when he uses it, the characters Blastar originally targeted are dealt penetrating damage. So he's got the 2 targets. Whoever you initially target, not people around them, but the initial targets are going to be dealt penetrating damage of the 2 damage that you're going to take.
Did you actually say concussive? What the effect of concussive blast?
Yeah, charge, running shot, and free. Make a close attack.
We're making fun of the title so much. I wasn't sure you actually mentioned what it did. Yeah.
And he's 8 range, 2 targets, 150 or 75 points seems to be a common thread here. With the power cosmic. Mike, you get the lead on Blastar.
Yeah, again, it's like another kind of cool figure. I don't really want to play him at 75 because it's just invulnerable. Like that is like the most easy killable anything right there. What is that? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 5 clicks of life. Yeah, that's getting killed so easy. So easy. He's cool. He's a beast, but it's almost like the same thing with Silver Surfer, which is you got to be attacking first. You got to make sure you're aggressive with this guy, and with the right dice, yeah, sure. He does a charge in with a 12 attack, 4 damage, and then gets to follow up with another close attack, 12 and 4 damage. Is beastly. That's a ton of stuff. But if your opponent gets a shot on him, they're gonna rip him a new one pretty easy. Like it's the same scenario. He's only got 9 clicks of life for 150. Or 8 clicks of life for 150 points. Like it's just the economy is not there. This is the opposite of dial economy, but a very well represented version of Blastar, and I would obviously consider playing him in sealed, being super rare, and assuming what I'm pulling out of my 2 boosters and him in a super rare slot. Sure, a guy who can make 2 attacks in a round with a 12/4 is pretty great. So sealed, yeah, why not? But Blastar.
All right, Tom.
Yeah, I agree with Mike. I think I like him a little better because he has one of my favorite power combinations in the whole game, which is Energy Explosion and Force Blast. I really love that. Admittedly, it makes it less effective the next time you want to use Energy Explosion, but I just love being able to send their whole crowd of people scattering in all directions. So that gives Blastar a special place in my heart. But that is not enough to make me want to play him outside of the casual fun of good times. I was also trying to figure out, like, because he does knockback, can you somehow give him slingshot, equip him with the exospecs and play him with a WWE ring so that he can do a ranged attack, hit them, knock them back next to him, and then make a free close attack against them? I mean, that's kind of fun, but that's a very convoluted way of basically getting flurry. So it's just, it's hard to get excited. I mean, he's so cool. Charge and running shot is a great combination, but it's completely redundant. You're never doing the one when you're doing the other. Energy explosion is neat, and penetrating damage is neat, but the powers just aren't there. And I wonder, it's weird to me that this is your super rare Frightful 4, maybe not the only one, but this is a Frightful 4 super rare. How come he's not contributing anything to the Frightful 4? Why isn't he giving anybody to people on the team or within 2 squares or whatever?
Blaster really just contributes explosions.
I know, but
he's selfish.
He's a Mr. Torg of Marvel. Explosions?
Yeah. For me, it's just like, stick with the theme. Like, you've created this thing, then go with it. Maybe because of the whole Frightful 4 giving out powers thing, maybe on a Frightful 4 team at 75, he could be some interesting muscle. But he loses that awesome speed power. So, I mean, I try to convince myself, but I can't.
I'm just going to add to, I think it was, you just said that charge and running shot feels redundant. It feels even more redundant when you consider that he doesn't have to be outside of base to shoot. So you could use running shot, shoot somebody, but be next to somebody else to use your free attack. And I feel like adding the charge added points that didn't need to be added somewhere. You know what I mean? I think it's because I'm zeroing in on his his targeting ability, which is an important element. And I also don't like where his pulse waves are. You know what I mean? They're just all in obnoxious places that I feel like I'm never gonna see them. And if I do see them, okay, cool. But if I don't, like when I don't see them, it's gonna be sadness. So, he's one of those really fun super rares, and he looks like when he works, oh my god, are you gonna feel it? You're just gonna watch certain characters just crumble beneath his might. But for the most part, he's just really super okay. All right. And last of the official previews,
But
Reed
not
Richards,
least.
but not least at all,
No.
Reed Richards, Fixer of Universes. He's got the Fantastic Four, Illuminati, and Scientist keywords. That's right, kids. He's a title character. So
Yay!
as with any title character, he's got his team ability, the Fantastic Four team ability. He comes in at 60 points with a dial that is way too big for a 60-point character at 7 clicks. And then we have this Pog here, the Molecule Man, which has a 12 range, sidestep with 0 movement, precision strike, 18 defense with energy shield, and 1 damage with probability control. Did you bring any food is a trait. At the end of your turn, if Molecule Man is outside of starting area, KO. Okay. So let's look at his title abilities. First, he's got the usual penalty. If he uses a plot ability and doesn't make an attack, he takes a damage. His KO penalty, when Reed Richards, Fixer Universes, is KO'd, generate a Molecule Man bystander in an opponent's starting area that's friendly to that force. I think, of all things, this seems like very light in the way of penalties for him. We'll get into that in a minute. He starts with 0 plot points. His +1, no more super heroics for a while, just science. Free, outwit, and perplex until your next turn. At the end of your turn, heal Reed Richards, Fixer Universes 1 click if he targeted 1 or more opposing characters with outwit or perplex this turn. He's got a +0, uncovering the real sources of Doom's power. Free, if Reed Richards, Fixer Universes occupies an opponent's starting area, generate a Molecule Man bystander, maximum 1. And then his -1, convincing Owen to unwrite Victor's twisted reality. Free, if Reed Richards, Fixer of Universes, is adjacent to Molecule Man, roll a d6, deal that much unavoidable damage to the lowest point character on an opponent's force. You choose if there's a tie. So this is a really cool title character for a number of reasons. One of which is one of the big knocks against title characters I've always kind of looked at and kind of stressed about has been like that if you don't attack, you take a damage thing. Well, his +1 gets around that because as long as you use the outwit or perplex on an opposing character, you heal that. That's kind of like you pick your order of end of turn when that's going to happen. You'll take your damage for not attacking, and then you heal 1 for outwitting. The +0, the make the Pog, that one is a bit of a hard pill to swallow because you do have to be in your opponent's starting area. That's not to say that this guy can't be there. With an 11 movement leap climb, he can get there. And there's all sorts of characters who can fly and carry him to the halfway point. If you don't want to do all the work with Reed Richards himself, you may lose out on some of the bonus or some of the peak usefulness of that leadership, though. Add to that the Molecule Man is a 12 range probability control with precision strike. If you just want to do that 1 damage at 12 range from the starting area, your opponent's starting area, that's like pretty close to half the map. I say all this with excitement.
That is half the map.
But this is a big gimmick. And this is one of those characters that's in the chase slot because he does a lot of really cool things. But I don't want to bring him to a competitive tournament. You can pull him off. You can do the effect. You can get him to work. But is it what you want to be doing? The negative is not the worst negative on a title character. Perfectly fine. Because you give your opponent a Molecule Man. Take him. He's a cool Pog, but he's not going to be ending the game necessarily. Overall, I'm not going to completely knock Reed Richards, but I don't feel like he's going to be. There's a team you can build with him. It's just not. I don't think it's the best team myself. I'm talking myself out of liking him. I love him, but I don't think he fits in that competitive mold. But Tom, he's shaking his head like he's about to undress me on camera. So go ahead, Tom.
Nah, I can't claim to be wise enough to completely to completely undress you. I simply disagree. Here's the thing that I see when I see this character. I almost don't see a Molecule Man Pog, and I don't see a +0 effect, and I don't see a -0 effect. Those are all great, and absolutely if you can pull them off, then do so. But what I see is a 60-point character who has 7 clicks of life, decent combat values, outwit, perplex every turn, and as long as he's using them, he's not taking damage. And if he's using them and he's attacking, he's healing. So he has the ability to heal himself, and that could be better or worse. If you're on clicks, 3 or 4, then by all means heal yourself back up. If you're on 19D super senses with a 2 prob, just keep it. It's fine. Stay there. You want to have a 12 attack and 20 defense on his last click. That's awesome. He is really cool as far as I'm concerned. And I just think that you get so much for the points at 60 points before you start trying to get fancy with the Molecule Man. I agree with you that the Molecule Man is very gimmicky. And it's possible that we are both mistaken and that either Mike will correct us or someone eventually will figure out how to really make the Molecule Man thing some broken power. There's no question. Free, deal 1d6 worth of unavoidable damage to a member of your opposing team, no matter where they are on the map, is incredible. But it does require quite a bit of setup. You got to get to the opposing starting area. You got to create a Molecule Man. The Molecule Man has to survive the turn, and then next turn you can do the thing. And if you're doing that, you're not outwitting and perplexing, so you are probably taking damage unless you're able to combine that with attacking. It is gimmicky, absolutely gimmicky, but he doesn't need the gimmick, and that's, I think, the thing that puts him over the top for me. I think he's incredible because he's an incredible 60-point character if you ignore everything except the dial and the +1 effect. And because of that, then I absolutely think I will, if I ever manage to get my hands on one of these guys, then I will certainly try to do something with them. I love the character. This is my favorite Reed Richards. This is the Reed Richards who is explicitly better than Doctor Doom, which is very much my he's a man after my own heart in that way. So that's why I like him. But I just think he's really a good usable piece.
I do have to admit I did get caught up in trying to solve the Molecule Man problems, so I stand
right.
corrected. He's a good character. Just don't try to Molecule Man.
Yeah. If you really getting up in your head about the Molecule Man, I think you're PJ could probably do it. I don't think I could do it.
Mike?
Yeah, I mean, I 100% agree with Tom about the economy of this figure. He's a 60-point figure who brings leadership to your team, so there's already a +1 to your action pool. He can potentially take tokens off of people. He's got Perplex and Outwit every time, and again, as long as you get him into position, you want to be outwitting things, and he's just going to get to heal, so he's not worried about not making the attack to put the plot point on. They definitely kept the economy down, probably by giving him 0 plot points to start. That was smart because I think if you gave him any plot points, if you gave him the 1 plot point, that would mean he'd be capable of actually generating the Molecule Man right away to start. And that, I think, would really be much more exploitable. I think the key to the Molecule Man, and I don't have a specifics on who to do it, but the key to the Molecule Man is actually, I think, getting him out of the opposing starting area and into yours. Because you have till the end of the turn for him to be in a starting area. It doesn't have to be the opposing starting area. It just says he disappears off the map if he's not in a starting area. I think it's too hard to keep him alive if he's in the opponent's starting area. So I think really your better option, if you really want to exploit him, is to figure out a way to get him quickly out of your opponent's starting area and back. But I also agree wholeheartedly with these guys that should not be your main strategy about playing this figure. I think that should be like a 3rd or 4th thing, or I should always remember I could always maybe pull that off with this. And these figures have it should not be the main focus of your build, and it should not even be the secondary focus of your build. It should be maybe tertiary or lower. Because it is very situational. It's going to be tough to pull off, and he's pretty weak, right? He could just die right afterwards. So you're sort of committing to either leaving Reed and Molecule Man in your opponent's starting area and trying to keep them alive there, or trying to figure out how to get them back. And that's a lot of work on trying to pull off this one thing. If it works, that's awesome. But you also need to have at least some plot points built up to be able to do that. I mean, an average 300-point build seems to be 4 to 5 figures on average. So if you want to be pulling off this thing and significantly take out your opponent, you're going to have at least 4 plot points stored up to be able to do that, which means you're going to have at least outwit and perplex your opponent 4 times. You can see what I mean. Like this, the whole Molecule Man thing becomes a build-up that's like a late game surprise more than an aggressive strategy. But 60 points for a leap climb figure with good values, long dial, a way to heal himself just by using outwit and perplex is fantastic. Definitely a figure you got to consider. Scientist keyword, he'll fit real well in the scientist keyword. And again, Fantastic Four, he can be on your sideline as part of that rebuilding. So maybe you find yourself against a team where, hey, I can bring them onto here and I might actually have a chance of pulling off this Molecule Man. Maybe your opponent's got a really aggressive team that you know is going to come all the way to your starting area. You just hopscotch to the other side, right?
Isn't there some rule about replacements and title characters? Maybe I'm wrong.
Let's see.
I thought that somewhere in the deep text of title characters.
Title characters start the game with and can accumulate plot points in the card. They're supposed to blah 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 blah.
Can't replace or be replaced. So
yeah.
Oh well.
Yeah.
But hey, he's still 60 points with a lot of other stuff going on.
Yeah, I'll have him on the team. I don't need to rebuild. I'll rebuild the rest of the team.
Yeah.
It's just like Jay said. Don't get pulled in by the Molecule Man thing. It's a, sort of a nice little extra add-on. But really look at this figure as, I can use this guy to fill a nice hole. And the downside, I think it's the sweetest downside of a KO title character around. Wow, here's a Molecule Man. Like
in your starting area.
Yeah.
You can't leave
him. Yeah, right. Sidestep him out and kill him for me. Thanks. I appreciate that.
It. All right. So next up, as we're gonna get into what's the word I'm looking for? The
video
spoiler threads. Specifically, a couple figures from WizKid's video or stream, just because we didn't get a chance to really spend much time talking about them, and there are a couple of characters that are fairly exciting. We're gonna start with the most exciting. And the most amazing thing that I think me and Tom are equally agree on is the coolest thing in here, and that is Dr. Fantastic. This is, of course, the Earth X Reed Richards in Dr. Doom's outfit. He's got the Minions of Doom team ability. He's got 6 range. He's 100 points with the Earth X Fantastic Four Latveria Ruler and Scientist keywords. He's got a trait which you have to pay 10 points for if you want to have it. I really should deactivate these Doombots. When a friendly character is targeted by an opponent's outwit, perplex, or probability control, after resolutions, you may generate a Doombot each time. So if they outwit you 3 times, that's 3 Doombots. How you doing? How you doing?
Especially.
Also want to point out that he does have Latveria and Ruler. He's got a special attack power on his last 2 clicks. Protected Pulse Wave, capital protected. So he himself is protected from Pulse Wave. Power, once per game, generate a Franklin Galactus bystander. We'll talk about that in a second. He's got a special damage power on his first 4 clicks. Stretch my own brain to the limit. Outwit, perplex, free, choose, outwit or perplex. Dr. Fantastic can use the chosen power an additional time this turn. Franklin Galactus is a power cosmic pog with 10 range, is colossal, has a 12 attack with Pulse Wave, a 20 defense with Impervious, a 5 damage, and a trait. After the resolution of any action, if no friendly character named Dr. Fantastic is on the map, KO Franklin Galactus. Tom, Dr. Fantastic.
Well, I mean, I was over the moon when I saw that they were making this figure in the set. For one thing, he was one of my favorite characters from Earth X. I've always really loved Mr. Fantastic, so I mean, that a bit bias was speaking at that point. But I was so excited, and I'm just so excited to see more Earth X. It is one of my favorite keywords, and I know that there aren't too many people that would argue that, and I can't very well, in good conscience, come onto a show that is theoretically aimed at competitive Heroclix and be like, Earth X, hitch your wagon to that horse. But all the same, I really like Earth X. It's worked well for me. I'm always happy to see some more love in that. It's got the Skull and it's got Daredevil, 2 of my favorite figures. And even in this post ID card world, Daredevil I still think has a place. And I think the Skull will always be viable. And there's a lot of things to like. And I do like this figure. Let me point out. He looks great. I love Morthex. I don't love him, and I'll tell you why I don't love him. Um, I don't love him for the same reason that when we talk about previews that have running shot and pulse wave, we often don't get excited about it. And if you're new to the game, you might think that we're on something, and hey, we might be. But generally speaking, the reason why we don't get excited about running shot pulse wave figures is that it's the best combination in the game, and as a result, we'll never pull it off. We'll never pull off a running shot pulse wave. Because no one's going to let us. Whether it be outwit, whether it just be like targeting that character first, whether it be locking them down, they're not going to be able to running shot pulse wave because they're not going to get a chance to running shot pulse wave. So it's a great strategy, but it's obvious, and because it's obvious, it's easily countered. So is a special power on the last 2 clicks of your dial where you don't have any stop clicks that requires a power action to activate. No one who's played Heroclix more than one day is leaving Dr. Fantastic on click 6 or 7. Dr. Fantastic's not seeing it, or because he's been KO'd, or he's not getting knocked that deep. So maybe you can try to use that to your advantage by kind of forcing your opponent's hand. You've got a limited amount of protection based solely on the fact that your opponent's only going to go for Dr. Fantastic if they think they're going to get him all the way through. So do one of my favorite things in Heroclix, which is misdirection. Try to use him in a way that keeps him just far enough back and just enough out of things that they would have to overextend to burn his whole dial and then punish them for overextending. Play him that way, but don't expect it to work. Unfortunately, he doesn't do quite enough to be really effective in that way. If he had a way to actively create Doombots, I would be very excited. But unfortunately, it is, again, reactive. Your opponent can work around it and make that a waste of your 10 points. And you will never ever see Franklin Galactus on a map against anybody who's played Heroclix before. They can always look at the back of your card. They know exactly where your dial is. This is an end game condition when it's like Dr. Fantastic alone on his team against one other guy on the opposing team. And then maybe Franklin Galactus just finishes the game. But other than that, that's the reason why I can't get as excited as I want to. I think that there's an incredible effect here that we're never going to see. This is like Black Swan. Awesome that it exists, but unlikely to ever work. So I'm going to use him for everything else he's worth, and he just quite doesn't do enough to convince me. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, I very much agree with your assessment. It's a very cool representation. I would love to see that Doombot thing work, and I can think of games where I've had to target somebody with prob like 5 times to make them miss, and that would be amazing to watch 5 Doombots just pop out. But like you said, people aren't going to let that happen. This figure is now 110 points, so he's over a third of your build. There's so much commitment, and it's an Admiral Akbar, man. It's a trap. You're never getting.
It's a trap.
It is just a trap. You're never getting Franklin Richards. You're just not getting him. Like, especially in a day and age of reading the back of the card. Like, right? Yeah. You're just gonna pick up the card. Wait a minute. Where do I have to not hit you to? Okay, great. Like,
I'll perplex down my damage.
Like even with Invincible on the first click. So topping out at 3 clicks, you go 1, 2, 3. You go down to that impervious. So really 1, 2, 3, 4 straight through after that, and that's the end of him. Yeah. So it's just never happening. But very cool representation of him. Definitely, I would want to play him in a themed, fun, more casual game where we're trying out EarthX figures or stuff like that, or just to have him and a whole bunch of Doombots or something would be fun. But he's the most Admiral Akbar.
I think the only thing that really excites me, or possibly kind of relieves me a little, is the fact that the Doombots do work with him. So when they do outwit whatever power they're going to outwit, I now make the Doombot. Now I got a 50-50 chance of saying, no, you're attacking my Doombot, not my Dr. Fantastic. Kind of like that. Or my Doombot is just blocking your line of fire now. It's okay. But yeah, like you said, if you just force your way through the damage and now you get that 17 defense and then you penetrate for 4, it's like a good game. It was a good time. Great old time having you. But, see you later. Ultimately,
I was going to say, I'll say this. 19D up front with double perplex means he's not getting hit.
Yeah. That must be nice to have to be that confident in that.
I believe it. I believe my 21 defense will hold.
I've had games where it's just like, all right, I got a 21 defense. I've had old teams where it's like 3 rounds in a row. All right, 21, you got an 11 attack. You need you got a 10. All right, cool.
I've had
my hubris is just all over me.
Wish you had willpower. Side note, wish you had willpower.
Yeah.
Hashtag, where's the willpower?
Where's the willpower?
He's a broken man. He has no willpower. He's a broken man.
You're right, actually. It makes a lot of sense when you put it that way.
All right. Next up, we have Triton.
Last and possibly least. Not because it's bad, but just because it's the least impressive.
That's Inhumans, so they have that going for them. He's 40 points, Inhuman Soldier keyword. Ally of the Seas trait. When establishing theme teams, choose a friendly character with the swim symbol. Triton gains that character's keywords. So he's on the Frightful 4 now, guys. Attack from the depths is his special movement power in the first 3 clicks. Charge. Hypersonic speed, but only if Triton occupies water terrain when activating it. Mike, your overall thoughts on Triton?
I kind of really, really like Triton. Because he can really help out some teams. I mean, really what it is more than anything else, honestly, is that prob.
Yes.
Because of the fact that he's got top-loaded prob with that first trait, with the dolphin symbol thing, it's very easy to get him onto generic keyword teams like an animal team and now bring probability control to that team as well. There are plenty of dolphin-symboled figures out there who have special powers that allow them to generate water terrain, like some Namors. So he pairs up very well with them. He's getting all their traits, keywords. I just think he's got so much that he could do for those 40 points. I mean, he's not some kind of impressive attacker, but hypersonic precision strike with his own prob and a 3 base damage is nothing to sneeze at for 40 points. A couple of perplexes to throw on attack or whatever. I think there's just you could really get benefit from this figure. And I'm just really surprised that they made a Triton this good. I mean, when has Triton ever been anything of significance in humans? Like, honestly, Triton is almost always the character they send out to sort of see what's going on. And then he gets captured or beat up. And then they have to go looking for him, or then he comes back and he's all beat up and they go, what happened to Triton? We better go find out what happened. Like, he's literally the bait on the hook, man.
That's the job of Batman orphans.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, honestly, convince me otherwise, brah. Like, seriously, go read every Inhuman comic ever. It's like Triton. Go out there and get beat up. So I don't know why they decided to make him so worthwhile right here, but awesome. I totally dig him.
Tom.
I mean, what can I say? I agree. Honestly, he's good economy for 40 points. 40 points for prob. 40 points for prob. Great economy. Everything else is fine. He's 40 points for prob. If your Injustice League needs probability control, you get a 10-point Black Manta and give Triton the Injustice League. That's my thinking on him. Is if I'm going to use him anywhere, I'm going to use him on Injustice League or Legion of Doom with Black Manta. If only I can pull one that isn't an error.
Soldier is really pulling in those props. I'm going to say it there.
Actually, wait a second. Let me just check a quick check on something. When establishing theme teams, choose a friendly character. So would Yaphet count, or does he get generated at the beginning of the turn?
Yaphet gets generated like beginning of the
game. Sorry, yeah. That's what I meant to say. Yeah.
So,
okay, so
he's not part of starting. He's not part of the starting force.
Pity that. Yeah. All right, we're back to Black Manta then. Or Deadpool the Duck.
or Hydra Man. Nah, Sandman. Hydra Man.
That's true. Yeah, Hydra Man.
Welcome.
Or Aquaman. Honestly, maybe you need an extra 40-point prob on your Justice League team, but I don't know. You've already got 500 Dr. Fates. I guess they don't have to start with prob though. So.
Between this character and the super rare Captain Marvel, that's a lot of prob showing up in the Soldier keyword for some reason, guys. What's going on here? Soldier the new mystical?
Maybe.
Let me tell you, one thing that soldier teams usually really like is a lot of water terrain.
Yeah. They're known for their mobility.
Yeah. They're really good at moving through the liquid, not like leadership all the time. That's an old thing I had to deal with when I always used to build soldier teams. And every team, like when you put together the keywords, there's always that one power that there's always a ton of. And for soldiers, it was leadership. My God, was I not keeping action tokens on? I guess that said, I kind of wanted to mention in brief that as of today, the Critical Clix Kilted Klassic has started. And that is the tournament run by PJ Bolin. It's a bracketed tournament, double elimination. 108 players have signed up. I'm one of them. So look forward to. I've asked PJ. He's cool with me streaming any games that I play in this tournament. The format, and I think we might have discussed this last week, but we're just going to quickly go over it. Every round, the winning teams on the winner's side, their figures and the map that gets used are all banned. There are exceptions. Like if a character generates a character, you can get it. You get around it. Stuff like that. But on your initial build, banned. No good. No go. So, and like day one of games progressing, a lot of stuff is already starting to get like look into the second round. Second round is going to be a ton of fun, guys. Whenever I get around to going to it, I got a really top caliber first round opponent, man. Holy smokes! Wish me luck on that one, but I don't think I'm getting anything banned in the first round. I'm just gonna be playing with what everybody else gets banned. That's what I'm looking forward to in this tournament. That's my.
You can claim you started with your second round team.
Hey, that's kind of where I'm going with it. It's like I always build tier 2 teams anyway, so I'm just gonna start with tier 2. So I'm looking forward to that. Keep an eye on the channel. We're gonna live stream some of those. Any of the ones I play in, or anything that I can catch when I'm inevitably knocked out. Good luck to everybody in it, and congrats to those who've already got some figures banned for the next round.
Right.
With that said, Tom, is there anything you want to add?
No, not really. I think we can move on. Another week of Heroclix previews and waiting for a world that makes sense.
Yeah, that's
Did you want
it.
to hop on that motorcycle? Is that Black Widow's motorcycle in the background?
My God! Well, welcome to what it's like to live on my street in the summer, because that's just like all the damn time. No, there's not much. A little sad to see that news report that I posted in the community group about our border may stay closed like a year. So I'm missing all of my southern friends. I keep thinking about Memphis lately. I can't tell you guys enough. I just keep thinking about Memphis and how much fun it was last year. Wanting to go back again. I will be going back again. Just most likely is not this year, obviously. But we will be back again. And it will be even more fun when we go back, because we'll have like a year of pent-up Clixness ready to just explode. I'm gonna premature click all over the place.
Mike, you're clixing all over my leg.
Just like Tom said, waiting for the world to get back to normal so we can all sit across the table from each other and roll some dice and click some clicks.
Yeah, man.
All right. So that said, before we move into our questions, check us out at patreon.com/MaryClicks. Any level of support is much appreciated. If you're in the $5 plus level, your June episode is around the corner. It's coming soon. I promise you, it's coming. It's just a little bit more editing to do. I'm going to try to get it done tomorrow when I don't have a back that is telling me to stop being alive. But it's coming. We got lots of content ahead, guys, so keep that smile on. There's going to be a lot of stuff, and I don't know how I'm going to keep up. I need some more arms. As well, of course, if you're in $1 up, you get early access to all sorts of stuff. Oh, my opponent has mentioned has messaged me, so we might be arranging times soon. With that said, we're going to start with our Patron Discord, which is one of the perks for the Patron program. Zombie Lord wants to know, what is everyone's opinion on the Mongol from Justice League Unlimited? Strangely enough, he makes a very robust and tough close combat team with tons of prob or utility with the 50-point uncommon Minotaur and such. I personally haven't put much thought into Mongol after gotta get my thing here. After our initial kind of look at him, I haven't really had a chance to really branch into using him myself, but I know when we looked at him, he seemed you kind of covered. He's tough, but I wasn't really wowed by him myself. What about you guys, Tom?
Yeah, I was trying to find the Mongol team that I wanted to build. I wanted to play a team that included Mongol at 110 points, Prime Vulture, Starfire SR, Samurai at 30 points, Proteus at 20 with a Friend of Humanity and Octopus Arms, and the Liar Ring. And this was kind of like a quasi Vulture team because there's a lot of stuff there that works really well. I like the Starfire. I like the This is not designed to make a Vulture and like game winner. This is Vulture goes in and tries to do as much damage as possible, and then gets mopped up by a combination of Starfire and Samurai, and Proteus is back there doing his thing, and Mongol tries to finish the game. Here's the thing about Mongol: he's too expensive at either point value for us to look past the fact that he doesn't do that much on his own. I love the fact that he gets to do some fun theme team shenanigans with Brutes and Warriors, because there's a lot of good ones of both. Eddie Guerrero was always the first one that comes to my mind, but there are lots of other options. And the Battle Fury thing is kind of neat, but it's based around sort of it's based around him damaging characters, and because he has so little swing to begin with, then it's going to take a while to really make that work. So, I want to like Mongol, but I wish that there was wish he had a 90-point dial rather than a 110-point dial. I wish that he topped out at 125 rather than 150. He just isn't quite enough, in my personal opinion. But by all means, prove me wrong.
Mike?
Yeah, I can't get behind him competitive that way. He's half your build. His defensive values aren't high enough. He's easily outwittable. He just feels like one of those brute type figures where he's got a lot of muscle, but so many things can take him out. 50-point figure at a distance with some late pen psi or just some perplexed up values. He's a really tough figure for me to get behind because of that. I always love something that turns generic keywords into named theme. I do love it. I love the concept of that. But like Tom said, if he maybe had some cheaper point values, cheaper starting lines, where I could finagle him onto a team and get more of that stuff. Because Warrior's great. I mean, Eddie Guerrero is a great figure. You've got the Thor, Chase Thor that you can play at Warrior. Like there's options there. But it's just Mongol takes up too many of the points to sort of fit onto something like that. So always, like Tom said, if you can make him work, well, then you made him work. But he feels like too much of an investment for a very niche market kind of payoff.
All right. Also want to give a shout out to David C. in the Patreon. He is running an online sealed Civil War OP tournament for charity, Civil War for Cancer. It's July 12th, and it's being run by Dueling Grounds. I do believe this is actually an in-person thing. Yeah, he's got a player cap of 8, so I'm assuming that he's following the social distancing rules and whatnot. Oh no, players will not receive pieces, so it looks like you're doing this online. The information is on Dueling Grounds events in the win. I will try to remember to put a link to it in the description below. All right, that said, we did have a question in the chat. If you guys are live with us in the chat, do in capital letters put question in front of any questions you might want us to answer right now. But this one comes from P-Nutty82 Asgardian. Question: I ran into a rules debate in a friendly game, and I was wondering if you guys could clarify how the new Chase Black Widow's tokens affect the Chase Hulk, the World War Hulk one. This is the Chase from Avengers Defenders War. So I believe what is about to happen is the understanding of how new rules work with old rules. And in this case, I do believe it's going to... The confusion the players presented to me in the chat later on, because I had to question, like, which... Because there's been 2 World War Hulkish kind of figures.
Yeah.
So, to very kind of go over it at a high level, the confusion was caused by the wording of powers can't be countered. And of course, the Black Widow has her Tradecraft token ability. Free, remove a Tradecraft token. Target character within range of line of fire can't use powers that aren't like colored blocks on the dial. I'm kind of paraphrasing. Bear with me.
Yeah.
So the Hulk here, his defense power, I believe, Rage for Dead Wife. Hulk can use Impervious, and his powers and abilities can't be countered. So that's old wording. New wording, that would say Protected Outwit. And that in the case of this, it would be capital Protected Outwit. I've really got to remember to turn Steam off. I'm covering Tom's face right now. So to kind of explain what's going to happen, the Black Widow is going to Tradecraft, and the Rage for Dead Wife is not going to give him Impervious, but he is, as a character, still going to be Protected Outwit. So any of his powers can't be targeted by Outwit. As well, if he's showing that special attack power, which he has in his last 3 clicks, which says Hulk can use Quake, but his damage value becomes his printed damage value instead of 2, he won't be allowed to use Quake because that's a standard power that he doesn't have. It's part of a not part of a colored click on dial. And then his special movement power in his middle 3 clicks, you can't hide from me. Hulk can use Charge. No, he can't. But he and improved movement ignores characters, ignores blocking terrain, and destroys blocking.
He's still good. He's still good for all that.
And when he uses Charge, he doesn't. So basically, you're not going to be able to use Charge from that power. His trait, Hulk can use Super Strength. No, he can't. And the Colossal Stamina ability, he will be able to because Colossal Stamina is not a standard power. And then that other part, when Hulk is damaged by an attack, increases combat values by +1 until he clears action tokens. That sticks around. That's still there because that's not a standard power. And then his special damage power, Stop. Hulk can use Battle Fury. He won't use Battle Fury, but he does still get to stop. I hope that clarifies that. I think I saw this show up in a Facebook conversation. Did I miss anything there, guys? He's indomitable, so he wouldn't be able to use willpower.
Yeah. No, I think you covered it very well there. I mean, the best way to think about it is right away is that there's no more can't be countered. Remember, it's just Protected Outwit, and then everything else you go from there. And since it's very specific that it's standard power on the dial, that's all you're ever looking for is those standard power names. All the other stuff is kind of extraneous.
Yeah, I mean, the one, it's a subtle point, but because Black Widow has both her token effect and her own outwit, then she's limited in what she can do with the outwit part.
Yeah.
Now, admittedly, that Hulk is a bad example of that because the 3 clicks where he has that damage defense power that we're talking about that protects him against things, the only on-dial power he actually has is Battle Fury. So it's true that you wouldn't be able to get rid of his Battle Fury if that was at all part of the conversation. But it's the only power he can actually, it's the only standard power he can actually use.
Yeah, and that's on the 2 clicks after the stop click even.
Correct, where they're actually colored orange.
Yeah. So I hope that clarifies it, and hope you kind of go into the next game with a little bit of a better understanding. I understand this is a common thing where, you get old powers mixed with new stuff, but wording hasn't been updated. So whenever you see can't be countered, if it references that power specifically, it'll be lowercase Protected Outwit. If it's this character can't have his powers countered, it is capital Protected Outwit.
Yeah.
All right. So with that said, I'm going to quick look at Facebook because that looks like it's about it for us. Because a couple things came up during the figure discussion, and we managed to cover those or catch those in the chat while we were going. All right, that's it. All right, so
okay,
very very quick night. Thank you, Tom, for joining me tonight. Thank you, Mike, for joining me tonight. I appreciate you guys coming out. We also want to thank our sponsors over at MajesticCCG.com. Check out the Apex Insiders. It's your one-stop source for all the great brains in the game of Heroclix. $3 a month is a small price to pay for some of the highest quality of Heroclix players that are out there. So keep an eye on that. If you want to go directly to the Apex Insiders, that's MajesticCCG.com/Apex-Insiders. Also, if you want to support us directly, like I said again, Patreon.com/Heroclix. We're still looking for more of those $15 patrons to have your teams pitted against each other. We have one right now, and we're going to be addressing his team, see what he wants to play, and ask him how he wants to have his team tested. What part of the meta gauntlet does our $15 patron want to stress test his team with? That said, guys, once again, thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for watching in the archive. It's a great we're kind of getting back into things. Roll20's out there. Some games are happening. Keep yourself safe. Keep yourself practicing, because practice will make your teams better. Have a good night, everybody.